Look at, I want to go back to Mark, the 11th chapter. Read that whole story. And I encourage you to reread that again. That's your homework. Tu tareja. Right, Hector? I also encourage you, if I was going to teach this afternoon, I would talk a little bit on this, that Jesus is the model for what it looks like to live a lifestyle of faith. Everything that God intended for Adam, you see in the life of Jesus. Jesus was the first man since Adam to express God's original intent. And that's why Malachi 3 has become a big deal to me, because once God expresses his intent in a particular area, he doesn't change his mind. So it's up to us to understand how he wants to operate in that area. I jokingly said last night, I've never had a dialogue with the Lord that goes, oh, I've missed it. It's always, you're the one who needs to adjust. So let's read this real quick and we'll land this. We'll take some time for questions. Now the next day when they'd come from Bethany, he was hungry, and seeing from afar a fig tree having leaves, he went to see if perhaps he would find something on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for the figs. In response, Jesus said, let no one eat fruit from you ever again. And skip that story about him in the temple. Then verse 20. Now in the morning as they passed by, they saw a fig tree dried up from the roots. And Peter said to him, remember, Rabbi, look, the fig tree which you have cursed has withered away. And Jesus answered and said, have faith in God, or have God's faith. For surely I say to you, whoever says to this mountain. So I believe that part of prayer and fellowship is not necessarily asking God about what to do, but capturing the words that God is saying to declare to your mountain. Whoever says to his mountain, be removed and cast into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes those things he says, he will have whatever he says. He will have whatever he says. Now that's a principle that obviously we don't have time to open up, but we live in a word-governed world. Like, you may not like it. Like, people have told me, like, oh, I don't believe what you just said. It's like, I know, I don't see it in your life. It's very clear that you don't believe that. So, because you will, that principle exists. You have what you say, whether you think it's true or not. It's just, you live in a word-governed world. The law of spirit and life is in the words that you speak. And so the only thing that you can choose to do is the words that you'll speak. You can't get under you can't remove yourself from a word-governed world. So he will have whatever he says. So you have whatever you say, good or positive. And I always encourage people, be extremely discerning in the words that you say, and refuse to even accept even what is kind of culturally kidding. I'm a person, I do like to kid, but I'm very, very careful about the things I kid about. Or the things we accept, just what people consider minor things. All I got to do is walk past that buffet and I get fat.
Yep.
Or, the older you get these kinks in your body. Says who?
That's right.
So all these little, I can't believe that.
Come on.
And so your spirit, it's all following these commands. Where I have such trouble hearing the voice of God. So your angel is going, I don't have anything to do, trying to help a brother out, So be just very discerning of those things we say. Or that's unbelievable. No, you were created to believe the right thing. Here's another one that's, the last number of years I've done this. I enjoy things. I don't love things. I love God. I know it sounds, but I enjoy. I'm going to enjoy going to the Jet game. I don't love the Jets. I only love God. So, because I don't want anything else to have the affections of my heart except God himself. I want to find my greatest needs in God, and I want my words to follow that. So, he will have whatever he says. Therefore I say to you, whatever things you ask when you pray. Now think about this. Believe that you receive them. Believe that you receive them and you will have them. I'll close with this story and then we'll take a few questions. It's probably been now almost 10 years ago. And just for a little background, I never desired to be in ministry. I don't say that funny. I'm just telling you, God has a sense of humor. I've said this many times. I thought preachers were strange, especially traveling ones that came to my church, because they used to put their kids up there to sing. They used to dress them the same. And, they lived in RVs. I mean, some of you know that, you went to that. You were around that. But I was thinking about this last week. I thought, this is really funny. I surrendered my life to Jesus, and he gave me a ministry. And I discovered my purpose, Some people want a ministry, but they don't want to surrender to Jesus. It doesn't work like that. That's why I've always been very nervous around people who want the microphone. I never desired the microphone, So anyway, so I start, but this is really funny because I say that, and then when he goes, no, you're going to start your own ministry, then it's like he tells me, I'm going to bring you around the world. I'm going to open a door no man can shut. Don't look to men. Don't the work that I'm going to do for you. Man will not get credit for all these different things. So he's like, now. I was working for this different ministry, and I was transitioning. That's what we say. That means a lot of different things for us charismatics. So let's just say I was transitioning, and I go, well, what's next, God? And he goes, you're going to start your own ministry, and I'm going, I don't think you understand. This is actually what I told him. You're saying I'm going to travel, preaching. I don't have a church, and the nursing home's not even inviting me to minister, and they want people to come. They're begging for people to come. They're begging for people to come. And he goes, no, trust me. It's easy for you to say, I'm living here on earth, So, and I still remember, I'm not going to mention the person's name, they're actually a pretty well-known pastor. They looked at me and they go, why would I invite you to my church? See, I believe that sometimes when you're doing what God told you to do, he'll irritate someone that you respect or like to really see if you believe that God told you.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And
Yep.
anyway, so I say that not to say that I've arrived, but I say I started my ministry in my parents' basement, sleeping in the same room that was my international headquarters. What I didn't know then, which I wish I knew now, but I had everything I needed because I had a word from the Lord.
Yep.
And so I began to just trust. And I find that the will of God is progressive as you obey. You don't understand certain things unless you say yes. You'll always be stuck at the... let me just use this, since we've already received an offering. If you don't trust God in that first step, you'll never understand what he wants you to know about finances. If you don't trust him with just your tithe, you'll never really get to you'll never begin to explore the riches that's in that subject about finances. You'll stay stupid in that area.
Yep.
It's just like any area. If you don't ever pray for a sick person, you don't ever get to discover the truth that's in that. Because truth in the kingdom is not stagnant. The word doesn't change, but your understanding of that does as you apply it. So I say all that to say, I just began trusting God. God began to do different things. But I had this dream like 9 years ago. So you're trusting God, learning to walk by faith the best you can. And I have this dream, and Jesus comes to me in this dream. And I'm in a group of leaders, and that has another meaning to it that I think I understand, or sort of. But he comes up to me, and Jesus comes to me, and goes, Abner, don't you know you can have what you say? And in the dream, I began to explain to Jesus, yes, Lord, that's how we started the ministry. We were trusting you. We just believed that word of what you've done. And God, by the way, God has done everything he's ever told me he would do. Now I have to believe him for other stuff. It's really cool when you have to start believing God for bigger dreams.
Yep.
He's never lied to me.
Yep.
And so it's kind of funny. You begin to explain to Jesus these things in the dream. And he didn't really seem to be very impressed. So he came to me a second time, and he's never mean or cruel. And he goes, no, don't you know you can have what you say? And since he didn't get it the first time, I'm a servant leader. So Angelo, I began to explain it to him again. No problem, Jesus, if you didn't get... So I'm explaining, yes, Lord, this is how we built the ministry. We had this word from you. And he still did not seem very impressed with my explanation. So he comes to me a third time, and his eyes are like fire. No! Don't you know you can have what you say? Dream ended. I did not call up my pastor. He go, what do you think this means? Do you think you could pray about this? See what this... I knew what he was saying. He said, you really don't understand that principle yet. And so nearly every morning, I did it this morning again. One of the things I begin with my time with the Lord is I go through the written word, I go through the prophetic word of what he said to me, and I begin to say, God, this is what you said. This is what you said. And I never quite understood how you could believe that you received. And then I understood I could believe I received because I was saying it. And one of the things I do is when I say certain things about things we're believing God for ministry, things that God has told us, this is our mandate, I'll just picture it in my mind. Lord, I believe you are faithful to do this. You're faithful to do this. And I'm not obsessed with the outcome, but I am pretty focused on playing my part in bringing it to pass. But here's the beautiful thing. When you're trusting God for that, it's his job to do it. It's my job to believe for it. And not turn away from it. But the one thing I have learned is this. You got to start in faith, stand in faith, and then usually to bring to manifestation to it, he will tell you something that makes no sense to your intellect to manifest what you've been believing God for. I mean, children of Israel, Adam, you can come up too. Children of Israel, can you imagine Joshua's elder meeting on that one? So we're going to go into the promised land. God's promised us this one. This is ours to have. It's ours. And so I could imagine. So like, what's the military strategy? So this is what's going to happen. We're going to march around once for 6 days. And then on the seventh day, we're going to march around 7 times, and we're going to be the first Pentecostals, and the walls are going to come down. Here's the thing about that. On the other side, they were already defeated.
Yep.
So the point of us understanding that is, it was simply like this key that he was giving them. And it wasn't really about what they were doing. It was what about, do you trust me enough to look like a fool to bring about the manifestation of what I desire? Amen. I'm done.